Hi bullet journal friends, welcome back to another video. It is halfway through the year and so it is time for a new journal. This one is from Notebook Therapy in case you're wondering. This is the 160 GSM Suki bullet journal in Mint Matcha. And I love the gold edges on the pages. And I have some stickers in the back that I kind of forgot were there, so that's always good. I bought this journal at the same time as my last one and I've been kind of waiting to get onto this one. I'm actually carrying over the theme from the initial setup in my previous journal, which was so easy and simple, just stars. I'll pop a link to that setup up in the cards because there are a few spreads that I'm not going to be transferring into this new journal. I'm going real minimal here because I'm planning on just keeping my old journal in one of the drawers of my desk and going back to it and using it for some things like my savings tracker, my social media tracker, anything that's kind of really comparing the beginning of the year to the end of the year. I'm just going to keep that in the old one for now, and maybe I'll change that if I need to, but I don't anticipate that I'll need to. So for now, this first page, as you can see by now, well and truly, is the future log. So July technically is sitting in the previous journal, which you will have seen if you caught my July bullet journal setup. That one just squeezed in to my last book, but I'm still adding it onto the future log just because I thought it would look a bit unbalanced with only 5 months on here. Even though I guess I don't technically need it. Since I'm going for this radial layout, I just thought July could be at home here with his other second half of the year friends. All of the decoration for this layout is so easy. I've got these, at the moment, 3 Tombow dual tip brush pens. I'm going to grab another one out and add to it later, but I hadn't decided yet at this point that I wanted it. So at the moment, I've just got a green, a lavender, and a blue, and I'm switching between them, switching amongst them to just give one highlight line for the name of the month and one highlight line below that for the day of the week. I didn't really plan out too specifically where I wanted each of these to go. Obviously it goes around clockwise, which is the way that I'm filling the months in here, but I didn't really plan out too specifically. I didn't sort of want it to look too much like a clock or anything. I wanted it to be a little bit haphazard and maybe a little bit constellation-y because stars. The super easy stars that I did at the beginning of the year in my previous journal, I'm obviously carrying forward into this one. So I kind of have a cohesive theme going on for the whole year, if that makes sense. I also just didn't have time to put more effort in. So, I needed to get planning. And as I'm setting this up, I actually think it looks really lovely without any decoration, just the color of the headers for each of the month. It just looks really nice. Yeah, as long as you balance them out across the 2 pages, that's going to work a treat for you too. So, you could leave it kind of here if you wanted to and not add any other decoration at all and it would still work out really beautifully. But I'm gonna add a bit of stuff. I wanted to denote specifically where the events and the dates for each of these months was going to go, so I'm just putting a little asterisk style star and drawing a line to it from the some part of the month bit there so that I can see where it's going. And I like how that kind of adds to the constellation-y thing too. You know how you see constellations drawn out like a dot to dot between the stars? It's got that sort of vibe to it. And I used that to sort of balance out the page as well. I typically don't have many things to do in December and I didn't leave it a lot of space, so I'm hoping that's going to work out okay. We'll see how we go. So you could absolutely leave this there, but I'm going to go in with the knot brush end of my Tombows and just quite literally randomly draw these little stars. I put a little tutorial in how to draw these at the beginning of my last, beginning of 2021 setup. So if you aren't familiar with how to draw these stars, you can jump over there and learn, but I think most people kind of grew up doing this, right? It's like the 5-point star where you don't pick up your pen from the page. I'm going to move on for now, but I'm actually going to go back to that initial future log setup in a minute. You'll see why once I work out that I want to use another pen. This next one is my goals page. I do like to reassess my goals mid-year, so that's why they're getting their own page in here. They're officially getting an upgrade. A lot can change in 6 months, and some of them will absolutely stay the same, but some of them I'm going to tweak a little bit and, either make a more achievable version if I'm nowhere near achieving the goal that I set out to do and I've only got 6 months to do it now. Maybe I'll add some new ones. Maybe some of them I don't really need anymore. Sometimes you change your mind, right? And that's okay too. So I like to divide my goals up into categories. I run 2 businesses. One is called Butter, which is why one of these is going to be called Butter. It's not a reference to the BTS song, although I do really like the song. So I'm just going to pop a little space at the top here in color for my heading. I'm going to do personal. The second one's going to be business, which is for my business that's not called Butter. It's just called my name. So putting business rather than a category called Erin Smith Kind of makes sense, I guess. I'm a photographer, and in Australia, if you trade under your own name, you don't have to pay to register a business name. So when I was setting up, I decided that was a good idea. And here's this other pen coming out. This one is a yellow pen, which I thought was appropriate for the butter section. The other goal space is financial. And I ruled one of my lines a bit too far, so I just got in there with some correction tape, and you can't even see it anymore. How good is correction tape? Sometimes it's not great. If you need to go over it with brush pen, it's usually really obvious then that you've made a mistake, but if you don't, then you can really get away with a lot. That's the goals page, bare bones done. And on the facing page is going to be my grid spacing. I will be honest, I don't refer back to this page too often, really, at all. Sometimes just to work out how many spaces there are across the page without having to count again, but I think it's still handy to have. Sometimes I remember that it's there, but most of the time I just work things out. Or I'll just use my previous month as a template rather than kind of starting fresh every time. I'll just be like, how did I do this last month? And if the layout's still working for me, then it comes with me into the future. One thing I did learn from my grid spacing setup last time though was it's a good idea to draw out all of your important measurements first before you go in with your grid spacing heading or whatever else you want to call it. Just because I kind of took up some space that would have been more useful to have my measurements in, especially I haven't drawn them out yet, which I'm breaking my own rule here, but that's because I hadn't decided that I wanted them yet, are the numbers that I'm about to do. So I've numbered the spaces from the bottom to the top just because then I could make the twos cross over and it would work out really nicely. If I'd thought to do the heading after this, then I probably would have put it at the bottom and made these numbers go from the top instead, but you know, we're here now, so that's okay. It kind of balanced things out, so I don't mind it. And then I'm just going to get in there with my stars. No stars going on the grid spacing page, because if I think of other measurements that I might need later, then I'm going to go back and add them on there, so I don't want to take up space with stars and have like ruined it for myself. I'm definitely spacing them out a lot more than I did at the beginning of the year because I don't know, I've gotten a bit more minimal since then, I suppose. And then this last one that's going in here is a contents page. I gave myself 2 of these, or at least I gave myself a blank page after my contents page at the beginning of my last setup, and I did not in any way need it. So I have an extra space in my other book, so I'm not gonna do that this time. I'm just gonna do the one. I'll probably put some sort of title on the facing page here for, I guess August will be the month that we're leading into, so that's probably what's going to go there. Not always a title page kind of girl, but I might in this instance, otherwise it's kind of awkward to just have this page chilling. Or maybe I'll leave it blank in case I decide I need some other kind of collection or something. Maybe a reading tracker will go here if I fill up the one that's in my current journal, which I might. We'll have to see. Super simple, just a table, page and topic, and some stars around the outside. In case you're wondering what I'm using for all of these headings, it's a Tombow dual tip brush pen, the black one, just using the knot brush end. If you've spent any time on my channel, particularly in the past 6 months, you will know that that is one of my favorite things to letter with. It's an unconventional choice, but I really like it. Just alternating which colors I use here, trying to make sure that I space out all of my stars. I actually really like how this looks, even though it's so simple. I like the slightly more spacey stars than last time. Worked out really well. Now that I'm looking at it, this page could probably do with a drop shadow, but I didn't think of it, so not yet. But maybe I'll add one later, we'll have to see. And now I got to go back to this first page because there's no yellow stars here and fix it up. Make sure that everything's represented. That's looking better. Yeah, there we go. Easy as that. So here's the final flip through. It's only like 5 pages, but it's still a mid-year setup, and so here we are. I hope you've enjoyed hanging out with me while I set up for the second half of 2021, and I hope to see you again for my August setup. And I also have a flip through from the first half of the year coming soon too, so if you'd like to see that, please do subscribe and stick around. In case I didn't introduce myself, my name is Erin and I make these bullet journal videos every month, so if you'd like to hang out with me for future ones, guess where you can find me. You know how YouTube works. Catch you again in another video. I hope the second half of the year is really kind to you. Okay, bye!